Today, we have a truly inspiring guest joining us, Annie Meehan, a motivational powerhouse who has turned life's toughest challenges into a remarkable journey of resilience and purpose. Annie's story is one of overcoming from a childhood marked by hardship and learning struggles to building a life defined by hope, positivity, and intentional change. Through her books like Be the Exception and The Pineapple Principle, Annie shares the wisdom she's gained and the steps she's crafted for living a life that defies limits. She's here to help us see that no matter where we start, we each have the power to create an extraordinary life. Join us as we dive into her story, her insights, and her inspiring message of becoming your own exception. Annie, again, thank you so much for joining our show today. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, fun to be here. So, and I love it. We kind of have the red and green going on today. So
Yes.
I'm ready for the holidays.
So am I, actually. So my first question to you is, can you take us back to the beginning of your journey? What was it like growing up? And if you can just tell us, what was some of your early experiences that shaped who you are?
Yeah, definitely shaped or motivated and drove who I became.
Yes.
I grew up the middle child of seven, raised by a single mom in extreme poverty, in a hoarder home. And so a lot of chaos, a lot of moving, a lot of unstable, unsecure. My mom did the best she could. She's still alive. She's 96, but being raised by a single mom in the middle of seven kids in 8 years, you can imagine there was a lot of layers to that.
Yeah.
Not always having I moved a lot as a teenager, moved 83 times by the time I was 18.
Oh,
Most people can't imagine that.
yeah.
So a lot of chaos. And I think you can, and I certainly did take the pain of the challenges and use it as fuel to do the great work and to have the purpose to be fulfilled in my life today.
Oh, wow. What was one pivotal moment from your childhood or early years that made you realize that you could change your life?
I think there was lots of little moments like whispers, but I think I was 19 when I really fully accepted. But I'm a woman of faith, and I feel like I could always hear the voice of God when I was like even four, like him saying, "There's something more for you. I got a different plan for you." That doesn't mean I lived that out as a young person. In fact, I really didn't. But I think those whispers and those moments and the curiosity, I was always very curious. I still am today,
Mm.
of peeking inside other people's lives or homes or rooms and going, what if? And I remember as a little girl, I wanted to be rich. Now, let me clarify what rich was for me
Yeah.
is I wanted Fruit Loops and Twinkies because kids that have Fruit Loops and Twinkies are like, oh my gosh, they're rich. And now I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, that was so weird. But there was this measure of food and a sugar cereal and having enough that was like, felt like a huge reach, but it was something I wanted to go after. So it kind of might seem silly, but it really was very much about food.
Yeah. I can relate.
Food scarcity,
Yeah.
right? Food
Yeah.
scarcity drives to, hey, I want to figure out a way to be able to buy my own food. So,
Of course. So, with all the obstacles that you faced earlier on in your life, how did you develop the resilience to keep going rather than just giving in?
yeah. I think that's a hard question to answer in that I think it could be any of us, right? Like when you grow up in chaos or pain, turning to addiction or repeating where you learn, you have to have strength. And to me, a strength beyond myself to be able to shift that, right? And so, what I knew always since I was a little girl is I wanted to be a mom. Wasn't really trying to be a mom, but like I loved kids and I wanted to give better than what I had. And I don't even know that as a child I could articulate that. But when I look back at myself as a girl, I was always like, there's got to be more. What else? What can I do? What do I have control over? Babysitting and buying food, or babysitting and getting clothes, are the things you could change.
I hear you. And then, by the way, being a mom it's a rewarding job, but it's one of the best jobs in the world as well.
That's right. 100%. Yeah.
Yes. So, and dyslexia, let's just talk about dyslexia for a second, because that is part of your story. How did this diagnosis shape your sense of self, especially during your school years?
Yeah, so I didn't know as a little girl that I had it. I just knew I was stupid and I couldn't read like other kids. And what I did, that's what I believed. Yes, I don't believe that anymore.
Oh,
Look at your
gee.
face. I was like, if I really I believe that, when you can't read, or when I spelled, it looked right to my brain and how I saw, and other people was like, what does that say? It was so illiterate that I couldn't get word, like Grammarly would not correct it because it was so misspelled, or, it would not step out because the letters are just so jumbled. And I still struggle with that. It's
Yeah.
just that I know how to overcome, get coaches, pretty much not let anything stop me, but not let those barriers. And I feel like I don't have a disability. Some people will say now I can't even think of the word that they put on people today. What is it called? You're
Oh,
neurodivergent,
okay.
and or you have dyslexia or you have ADHD.
Yeah.
True, but I just like to say I learn differently. So when I'm studying, I'm listening, watching, and following along so that my brain can absorb, because I don't know. Just reading might not be enough. Just watching might not be enough. So I always try to teach parents, especially, like, that doesn't mean your kid's less than or they have a disability. They learn differently, but we all learn differently. So I really try to, when I'm teaching, think about how can I use picture, video, word, and application to help however people learn.
Of
Right?
course. It's so true. We all learn differently, and there's nothing wrong with that.
That's
So,
right.
yes. So, what was the moment or experience that served as a wake up call and inspired you to transform your life?
I always feel like this is good advice, bad advice. So I'm like, this is what worked for me. I'm not recommending it. So I found myself pregnant at 19, and that was my turning point. It was really, I knew I always wanted to be a mom. I knew I always wanted to give my kids someday, whenever I had them, a better life than what I had. And when I found myself pregnant at 19, I thought, I will not repeat where I came from. I will
Mhm.
do whatever it takes. I will get as much help as I need to break the cycles
Yeah.
so that my child can grow up feeling loved and supported and stability and security. It didn't go so easily straight, like a straight line, but definitely that was a huge turning point where I was like, oh, I didn't take that great of care of myself for many years. But when I had a baby in me, I shifted and went, I'm going to take better care of myself for my child until I learned to love myself enough to want to do it for me. And
Yeah.
that really was a huge turning point.
And we talked about some of the obstacles that you overcame. Some people may perceive as limitations, but what were some of the first steps that you took to create this freedom for yourself?
Yeah, support, going to therapy. So getting a good therapist, reaching out to an organization that helped crisis pregnancy women decide if they wanted a place for adoption or raise or what support you needed. So getting support. My mom is a very strong, independent woman and would always say, I'll do it if it kills me. I can do it myself. I can do it. And there was something about that lesson of you are weak if you ask for help that really started to shift at 19. And when I went, wait a minute, I do need help. I do want to be a great mom. I cannot do it all. I don't even know what I'm doing, but I want to try. So seeking help, personally for myself, but seeking help on how to raise a child, just striving, just working and learning. And I don't know, just knowing there has to be a better way and that I was willing to do whatever it took to give that to my son.
Yeah, why do some of us anyway, always think that asking for help is a sign of weakness? I don't get it. I think that's a sign of strength, actually.
100%. It really
Yeah.
is. Actually, somebody posted, I don't know if you know Sylvia, she was posting on LinkedIn this morning about how she really believed that. And I said to her, I'm so proud of you, because she was kind of saying it's not true. And I was like, no, it's not. My mother, who's 96, but her motto was,
Mhm.
I'll do it if it kills me. I'll do it if it kills me. I'll do it if it kills me. And I remember her saying that out loud and kind of mumbling it too. And she would lift couches, and she's about 5'2" at her height.
Yeah.
And there was something, and I remember being 21, so 2 years after, or a year after I had my son, hearing in my own head, I'll do it if it kills me. And I was moving furniture. And I remember physically standing up and saying, no, I will not do it if it kills me. I will ask for help. It is okay
Mhm.
to ask for help. And I had a beautiful neighbor. She was married. I was a single mom,
Yeah.
but our husband traveled. And we would literally, she ran a daycare. We would literally every night, you want to go for a walk? I'll watch the kids. You do this. Let's do it together. I'll cook dinner tonight, enough for both of us. I'll cook dinner. She really taught me at a young age, like, because her husband was gone a lot, but I was
Mhm.
single, like, let's cook for each other. Let's walk together. Let's encourage each other. Let's just hang out, and I'll help you pick up your house. You come over and help me. And I learned this rhythm of the gift, the enormous gift of helping someone. It brings people joy to help. It brings me joy to help other people. So why would I not let someone help? And then it gave them permission to say, can you help me? Can I help you? And this give and take relationship, which is such a a beautiful thing. We need each other. We're
It's
created for community.
We do, and there's no limitation. Honestly, it strengthens the bond between women and people. And when you ask for help and you're able to give back, I'm telling you, that's so rewarding in itself. It
Mhm.
really is. And you're grateful. You wake up with a sense of gratitude, knowing that you were able to not only, of course, receive, but give back and make a difference to someone else's life.
And we're better moms for it too. Like if I'm stressed out, I tell people all the time, I'd put myself on a timeout with my kids. Like, I got to go out on a timeout. You don't have to, but because I want to be a better mom. And if I'm getting crabby and tired, then I'm not going to be the mom I want to be. And so, uh, Brenda, I'm just thinking about, I'm just having so much gratitude toward her because really she helped me learn how to give and take and in all sorts of silly ways and important ways. And we need community, we need each other and lessen the burden and make the celebration bigger, whether it was a birthday party or a heartbreak about
Yeah.
something.
But it's good that when we recognize when we do need a break, you're right. It's good to say, you know what, I need the time for myself because if I'm not good for myself, I can't be good for anyone else.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to say, because you said, why do women think that? I think that's such a message that I want women to know is like, they're like, yeah, but I got to take care of this person. I got to, and and I'm like, you are no good for anything, nothing. You are giving out of resentment and you are holding it in your body and you're going to get physically sick. And I don't want to put that on you. But at some point, we got to say, I need 5 minutes for me. I want to, I always remind people like, start your day with
Yeah.
5 minutes for you because you might not get it later, right? Because we get going and life happens. So,
Yeah. And the idea of multitasking, I'm sorry. Why don't we have to multitask? Why can't I concentrate on one thing and do that well? If I choose to multitask, okay. But there shouldn't be an expectation that some of us as women should be able to multitask. No, not anymore. Sorry, not anymore. I think it's good now that we recognize when we do need a break, and sometimes we can't multitask. Sometimes we want to focus on one task at a time and be better for it.
100%.
Nothing wrong with that. So, and sorry, my next question. Who were some of the people in your life who really encouraged you to dream bigger, and how did that impact your journey?
I was asked to be on a talk show once called Genuine Hero, and you had to say, who was your hero? What did they teach you? How did it make you feel? And how are you paying it forward? And I didn't really have a hero. That word didn't resonate with me. And so they were like, what about a coach, a mentor, a teacher, an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent? I'm like, no, 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 no. Like I didn't have a lot of support growing up. But then I looked back and I like your question. And I think, who lit my path?
Yeah.
Thought there was an enormous amount of darkness in the first 20 years of my life and probably cried myself to sleep almost every night of the first 20 years of my life. But there were these moments, these little touches of light and love. And I talk about a man named Mr. Ken when I was 7 years old and I had a paper route in Champaign, Illinois. And it was freezing out and the papers weighed more than I did. Everything that was hard about life was amplified on those walks to deliver papers. But he would always wait at the door and he'd give me a nickel and he'd give me a hard butterscotch, my sister and I. And
Oh,
I remember that simple gesture really impacted my life. And so I try to think of what can I do simple that could impact someone's life. And Mrs. Rico, my third grade teacher, I still couldn't read.
yeah.
And I remember her whispering over my shoulder and saying to me, but Annie, you're good at math. Sometimes the poor kids are good at math because every penny counts. And I remember just that moment of love in my life, that moment of a whisper. And I had a lot of those along the way from friends to friends' parents that let me stay on weeknights without asking questions. And it was hard to have friends, first, because I moved a lot, and second, because I could never invite you back to my home. And girls have something silly about if I invite you over, you got to invite me over and back and
Yeah.
forth. When I was 18, I was on the Oprah Winfrey show as a guest, and it was a hard show. They called it Runaway Girls. It wasn't really true. We weren't runaways. We all had either and or abusive homes, unsafe homes, unstable parents that would lock us out or different things. And so the show was harsh because people judge what they don't know, right? We judge what we don't understand unless we choose to be curious and wonder and ask questions. So the audience was kind of harsh to me and the two other girls. But Oprah afterwards was just such a beautiful gift to us. And she told us pieces of her story about her dad and
Yeah.
about his doubts in her as a woman and as a woman of color, and that she dreamed too big and blah, 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 and her uncle and abuse and stuff. But what she said to us is don't let anybody tell you what you can't be. You become whoever you want to be, and don't let your past define your future. So I was 18 years old when that happened. To be honest with you, my self-esteem was so low. My belief in myself, and I was on as an exceptional teenager runaway or something like that. But I didn't feel exceptional. I had dropped out of high school. I was working 3 jobs to support my little brother so he could finish high school. But it was Oprah looking at me. And like, I felt like the first time in my life that a woman had looked me in the eye and told me I had value. I had such a messaging from my father and other people around me that I would never have value. But besides, I could smile and people would think I was cute and happy, but not that I had a brain or that I had strength or that I had wisdom or that I had opportunity. And when Oprah looked at me, I get emotional about it. I don't always share it
Yeah.
with people, but when she looked at me, and she made me feel seen. And she said, you can be anything. You can be
Mhm.
anything. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you go through. And I heard it and I felt it and I saw it, but I literally could not receive it as truth until I was about 21. And I remember just thinking, that is not who I am. This is who I am. And whoever bets against you, which I always feel like people are going to bet against you when you're brave and when you buck the system and you break the
Yeah.
cycles and you say, I don't have to be that. What
Right.
you said about me doesn't have to be true. But I love Taylor Swift in the line of haters gonna hate, and Darren Hardy who says if people don't hate you, you're not doing enough to disrupt the world, and just different people that remind you like not everyone's gonna love you because you decide you want a better life. In fact, people around you, which this has happened to me, friends and family have said, well, who do you think you are to get above this and to be, you think you're better than us? No, no, no. I think I want better than this. This isn't about you. This is about me. And it's
Right.
there for all of us if we'll do the work. And so I don't even know how about it, but I feel like Oprah showed me that. Like she
Yeah.
didn't just say it to me. She said, look at me. Don't think it was easy because I got to hear. Don't think that people were like, go, Oprah, go. No, even my family and friends weren't. Don't quit. Don't quit becoming. Don't quit being. Don't let those people that pushed you down, whether they meant to or not, because of their own sickness and wounding, define who you are. And so
What a story. Well, I mean, I was going to say, in your path to overcoming adversity, what was one of the most challenging beliefs or patterns that you had to unlearn?
I mean, this is an ugly one. But when I was 4,
Yeah.
my father said to me, and my father was an abusive alcoholic, and he eventually drank himself to death. But he said to me, thank God you're sexy because you'll never be anything else. And I think that's probably the hardest, which I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if when I share that, but I'll tell you this, that is such a deep messaging and is such a wounded messaging for a young girl. But it becomes, if you repeat a story, even
Yeah.
lies and evil enough, they become your truth, right? So if it's your truth, then you just start to live that out and you think, well, this is what I have to out for the world. I got to be cute. I got to get attention because I'm cute. And so for me, growing up, I never wanted to be cute or pretty or sexy. I mean, I think I thought I had to be, but as an adult woman, what I think now is like, the greatest compliment I get is when people are like, I'm so proud of you. You're so smart. You're so strong. You're so driven. You're wise. You're an inspiration because of what you do, not because of how you look. And so it's really my depth of work is to help people see the inside and not the smile that sometimes is full of secrets and lies anyway. That's probably been the hardest messaging is believing that I had worth beyond how I looked, that I had worth for my brain and for my work and for my strength and who I am as a human being.
And you are helping millions of people, women, young girls today with that message. That's just, it's really touching, really touching. So you often speak, Annie, of being intentional. What does intentionality mean to you, and how did it become part of your personal philosophy?
Because nothing happens for me by chance. That's what I think about. And I go pretty fast and pretty hard. And so people are like, you seem like you fly around by the seat of your pants. And I'm like, I know that some people get that perception, but there's a lot of reasons I do that. I
Yeah.
lost my brother to suicide a week after he turned 22 and the day after I turned 23. Life is short. I lost my sister to alcoholism at 56. My father drank himself to death. My best friend died at 22. My husband's best friend died at 38. Life is short. I have a lot to get done in a short period of time. So people don't think I'm as intentional as I am. I am so intentional every day. People, because I wrote Be the Exception, and people are like, oh, you're the exception. I go, oh, no, no. I'm never the exception. I get up every single morning and I have to decide again and again and again. I get up and I get up early because I tell myself, you need quiet and you need prayer before your feet hit the ground. And my dog is up early, so I got to get up earlier so I can have a moment of prayer and thank God for how blessed I am and be reminded that I am not blessed just to be blessed. I am blessed to be a blessing to other women, to other children, to other men, to people that are stuck in pain and cycles and stories that don't serve them. So I must have quiet every day. I must have movement every day. And when you grow up around addiction and mental illness, you realize I know I lived in depression for the first 20 years of my life. I know that would be my story without intentionality every day. I move every day, not because I want to, but because I'm worth it. I pray every day because I'm blessed and I need to be refilled so I can go bless somebody else. Everything I do is with intention, but because of the speed I move, sometimes people think it's random, but it is never random. I'm always strategic. I'm always smart about what I do. And I'm always like, live with intention. And I ask myself every day, this is good. How do I make it better? So I
Yeah.
often teach about live beyond gratitude to generosity because that is true joy for me is that I finally have enough that I don't have to hold on to it so tight that I can have it, enjoy it, and share it. And that all
Yes.
comes with the intention of where I came from.
So in Be the Exception, you outline steps for living an exceptional life. What step do you think is the hardest for people and why?
I love this question. And it's I sometimes have to push back because when people want me to speak on it, they don't always want me to share this, but it's the first step without a doubt. And it's
Yeah.
the foundation of the book. And it's be honest. So people are like, why is that so important, Annie? And the reason it is so important is because I lived out of the lies that I was told about myself and about my future. And so that be honest is challenge every story, challenge every thought, rewrite the stories that no longer serve you. So, as a woman who learns differently, I can easily go into you're not smart enough, you're stupid, you're
Yeah.
worthless, you'll never be as successful. And I have to go, wait a minute, that's a story. What's true about, so I always say there's a story. What's in every story is a truth. So, the truth is, I learn differently. The truth is that I see things that aren't there and I don't see things that are. And grammatically, if you got time to correct it on social media, go for it. Moving forward, I will believe I have strength and smarts and that God uses my voice and my written work to help people do their work so they can heal. So be honest is about rewriting the stories that no longer serve us, about how we show up in the world, about our health, about our finances, about our relationships, about our work, because negative stories, most often not even spoken, but just thought and repeated,
Yeah.
become our truth. So when I'm working with single women and they're like, everybody's a jerk. I can't find a nice guy. I'm like, wow, that's a story. I know a lot of nice guys. Where are you looking? What's great about you? What are you going to change? Because perspective, what we focus on, we find, right? Wherever it is in our work, in all of our areas. So
Yeah.
they're all important, all seven. They can be done in any order, they can be repeated. But for me, the foundation of Be the Exception is be honest, rewrite the stories that no longer serve you.
So then what advice would you give to someone who feels that their past is holding them back from being the exception?
My advice, my encouragement is challenge everything and
Yeah.
take all your power back. Don't, I meet people that say, oh, 40 years ago, someone cheated on me and I'm just pissed. I'm like, wow, you just gave away 40 years of your life. Or then some like, no, that happens. I have somebody said to me once, why are you so happy? Like you kind of had a horrible life. I go, oh, I choose that. Like I have an amazing life today. Doesn't mean it's not hard. Doesn't mean there isn't challenges, but I choose to look for the good and then to talk about the good and then to focus on the good. And then, I had a client this morning and she's got a speaking engagement she's putting on and someone canceled
Yeah.
on her. And so when we got on our coaching call, I go, oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you today. She's like, why? I said, well, I'm so happy somebody canceled. She's like, that's not funny. I go, I'm not being funny. I said, one of the things I love to teach new speakers is adapt. I get booked for an hour and sometimes that turns into 3 hours. I get booked for an hour, sometimes it turns into 20 minutes. When I learn to adapt, whether people show up, whether it works out, how I imagine or not, only makes me stronger and better. So my encouragement is challenge your stories, challenge your thinking, challenge your beliefs, because I believe even in the most horrific, losing my brother was a big horrific for me,
Yeah.
was so young to suicide. But inside of that was the gift of I am much more compassionate and empathetic. When people say they want to die, I never think they're doing it for attention. I educate people like that's not how we get attention. It taught me a lot of lessons. I wish I still have my brother here, but I am so grateful that I can look at the horrific and the hard things in my life and find a treasure or a gold piece that I can use to help someone else.
Ah, so what would you say is the biggest misconception people have about what it means to be the exception?
I mean, there's a lot of misconceptions. I think like one time I met a woman and she goes, I bet you always had an easy life. And I go, oh, actually, I don't think you read my book. And then she's like, oh, sorry about that. I think that people think it's easy. And I also think people want to believe that you arrive
Yeah,
and you never arrive. I will never get to a point in my life that I take my mental health for granted. I will never get to a point in my life where I think I know everything I need to learn. No, that be the exception means choose it every day, get up every day and challenge your thoughts,
yeah.
challenge your health, challenge your mentors, and look for the lights, even in the dark places. Be flexible. Know that change is always going to happen. All seven of this keys, I think you never get to them. They just keep unfolding.
So let's talk about the pineapple principle for a moment. In the pineapple principle, you encourage people to wear a crown. What does this mean in real terms, and how can someone begin to embody it?
Mm. Well, I thank you. I love that. I love being pineapple. I got my pineapple earrings and necklace on. I'm all about the pineapple. Wear a crown is a great place to start. I think wear a crown for me is I teach people, when I get up in the morning every day, I think, you know what I want to do? Just lay in bed and eat donuts and watch Hallmark movies. That's what, and they go, wait a minute, Annie, you got a crown on. And I literally have to sometimes think these thoughts to myself. I go, you got a crown on. You got to get out of bed. You got to go have a glass of water. You got to go for a walk. It doesn't matter what you want to do. You're worth more than that. So
Yeah,
drink your water and go for a walk. And if you want to get back in bed and eat donuts, I am not an anti-donut person here at all. I'm all about the donuts, but you're worth more. Take
yeah,
care of yourself, not because you want to, but because you're worth it. Value yourself. Look in the mirror and instead of ripping yourself apart, go, oh my gosh, I look amazing. Like people love me. Like I'm a good person. And then when you do that, I do some DEI work. And what I know is that when you do that, when you like yourself, truly know your worth and your value and wear your crown, first of all, it's so much easier to see other people's crowns. But second of all, if I don't like you, you're like, okay, I'm moving on. You don't let everybody else's opinion define whether you like you or not, because you have to start. That's why I say wear your crown, value yourself first, and then you can see everyone else's crown and you can value them. And then there's so many research and books about like how many negative positives does it take to erase a negative? Is it 3 to 1? Is it 5 to 1? Is it 7 to 1? 10 to
mhm,
1? Sometimes research drives me crazy because we spend a lot of money on it and people try to believe it and then wonder what's wrong with them. And this is what I say. Our brain is wired to believe the negative. And if you speak to 1,000 people and 999 say, oh, Jackie, you're amazing. And one goes, Jackie, your shoes are ugly. I don't like your shoes. You're driving home. What do you think about those dang shoes? Right? And that is when we know and I say it's PMS, it's hormones, but it's also the reality of it takes so much work almost every day, that intention to I have value. Even if
yeah.
everyone doesn't like me, even if I make mistakes, I have value. I am messy, I'm complicated, but I have value and I have worth and I have gifts to share with the world. And life is short, but I'm going to share something. Every day I say, help me to be kind, help me to be more like Jesus and help me to be kind to another person. And if I do one kind thing for one other person, whether anyone else knows or not, it just brings me immense joy. And so, wear a crown is about valuing yourself, liking yourself. So other people, I used to be so, do you like me? What should I do to get you to like me? Somebody called me a chameleon once when I was maybe 13. She wrote a paper about me. And I knew I was because I didn't know how to survive. I just had to fit in anywhere. I just needed love so badly that I would change who I was every 5 minutes to try and get anyone to like me. So learning to like yourself and to be who you are, pineapple and silly and goofy and messy and complicated and beautiful and strong all at the same time is what I would encourage people. Learn to take care of yourself first and like yourself first, because then other people's opinion matter a lot less.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice. In your book, Paths, Detours, and Possibilities, you embrace life's unpredictability. What has been one of your most meaningful detours?
I would say, first of all, having Matthew when I was 20 years old, I was 19 when I got pregnant and I had him at 20. It was a big detour. Another detour is I got married and I never really thought I know a lot of women want to get married and there's nothing wrong with that. And I've been married a long time, but I never thought I'd get married. I never thought I'd I felt like it was part of that messaging Jackie of I don't need anyone, right? Like I'm strong enough. I'll never ask for help. I'll never need anyone. And my husband's a great guy. And sometimes I'll say, I will never need you. I am good. I'm married to you and I'll stay with you, but I don't. But there's something beautiful about we joke now about I need him and he needs me and we need each other. And I'm not saying you need a man by any means, but for me, I was not a girl of grew up and wanted to get married. I was afraid of men because of my upbringing, and I was afraid because of what my mom taught me about men. But that was a big, I mean, it's still a surprise to me. We've been together 33 years and I'm still like, I can't believe I'm married. But then I'm like, but it's good. I think it's okay. And my friends will be like, you're fine. I'm like, are you sure? Because I feel like I should get out. They're like, you're okay. So I think getting married and liking it is a surprise. I have three beautiful adult children. That's a surprise. I'm so humbled and honored that people read and listen to my work. That's a huge detour and surprise in my life is that I felt that I had no worth and that my wisdom had no worth. So today to be paid to speak all over the world, and I've written 9 books, and people read them and people write to me and tell me the impact that my work has had on their life is an immense, beautiful detour. And our children are raised, and now I can impact even more lives in a new and different way. And that's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. And for those who struggle with change, what are some of the first steps to viewing uncertainty as an opportunity?
I get brought in to speak about change a lot because when you move 83 times, you're like, I know how to adapt. I know how to adapt really good. And I always say, try to get lost, especially if they know they're going into a change.
Yeah.
Force yourself to drive a different direction. Force yourself to walk a different route. I say, I try to get lost every day and I find ice cream shops and I love ice cream. So I talk about like seek out change. And in my book, Be the Exception, I write a story about a man that I met when I was speaking that was really resistant to change and their company was going through a takeover. But look for ways to try to force yourself to change. So I don't watch a lot of TV, but I like Shark Tank. And I always think Shark Tank's good because it's about taking something good and making it better. So
Yeah.
if you're uncomfortable with change, I meet people that eat the exact same thing. Monday night they have this, Tuesday night they have their menu. Put a new recipe into your menu. Try a new food. Take baby steps to try new things so that when bigger change comes, you'll be more comfortable with it because you're literally telling your brain, change is a little scary, but I do it anyway. Change is a little scary, but I'm going to try a new color. I try to teach people put color on. Like, and some people are like, I just wear black. I'm like, you'll be
Color,
okay.
color.
I, put some color in your closet. Try a
Yeah.
new recipe. Go to a different location, sit outside if you're always inside, talk to a stranger on an airplane, in the mall, smile and just say hello. Do little things so that you're more strengthened. I always talk about strengthening our muscle to try something new, make a new friend, invite somebody in, do different things. So, yeah, change is really hard for people. I always say, look for the silver lining, look for the gold, because there is gold even in changes we don't choose. Also, stop saying you hate change. I tell audiences, I'm like, how many people like change? 3 people raise their hand. And I go, okay, I was going to give all of you a raise, but never mind. We're only going to give it to those 3. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. Like, wait a minute. I'm like, no, we like change. We just like change that is good for us and
Yeah.
that we feel like we have power over. But we don't like changes that are chosen for us. And we don't like changes that are scary. Someone leaving us, losing a job, a death, a diagnosis. We don't like that.
Yeah.
But all of us face some change in our life. Always, that's the one guaranteed, right? So
That's so true. So true. I was going to ask you, I was just so really into listening about change. And I was going to say to you, what about stepping into or making yourself feel or stepping into a very uncomfortable zones? Because sometimes I think it's good to be uncomfortable, to get comfortable. What do you think about that?
can you give me an example? Are you talking about going to a networking event where you
A
don't?
networking event or doing something that you don't typically do and overcoming that fear.
Yeah. Be scared or don't overcome it. I teach people all the time, be scared and do it anyway. I'm scared of lots of things. People don't know I'm scared, but I am scared. And I just tell myself, just do it, Annie. You'll be okay. And I
Yeah.
also like to go to worst case scenario. So some people are afraid to fly. And I used to be, but I fly so much now. I don't even know if I'm on the ground or flying. But I say, what's the worst case scenario? I could die. Okay, you're right. You could die. You could also die in a car accident. You could die in your sleep. We could just die, right? Dying isn't the worst thing. Nobody gets out alive. So I'm afraid. What if I die? Okay, but I'm going to go anyway. Networking events, I encourage people because that is a more comfortable atmosphere for me than most, but role play, get with a friend and role play and prepare. So if one of your things is meeting new people is scary, then role play with someone else if you can and have 3 questions, not what's your name, what do you do for a living, but what's your favorite color? What's your favorite vacation spot? And what kind of ice cream do you like? And then people will say, I'm lactose intolerant. And I'll say, well, that's a real bummer. Me too, but I eat it anyway. No, but to have something to talk about before
Yeah,
you go in, because what happens is you panic and then you get in your mind, right? Like, oh, I'm going to say something stupid. What if I don't say that? What did that person do? And also always encouraging people when you tell your name. I always say I'm Annie, like little orphan Annie with the red curly hair. Little orphan Annie, you know the one. The sun will come out tomorrow. That's my thought. Tell a story with your name to help people remember you. Be prepared with some questions and practice. And also ask yourself, what's the worst case scenario? They could say, I have bad breath. They could say, I'm a weirdo. They could say, I didn't want to talk to you. I was looking at the guy behind you. So get yourself prepared for the worst that will most likely never happen so that you can just be like, I'll be okay. They might be awkward. They might think I'm weird. I might, and also you don't have to talk to everyone in the room. I think people pressure themselves too much. If I meet one person this week, I'm doing great. If I meet 3 this month, I'm doing awesome. So set the bar low so you can raise it by winning simple things and role play, be prepared, go to worst case scenario, and then go backwards from there. So this is the worst. Then I ask myself, what's the best thing that could happen? Oh my gosh, I could make a new friend. I could find a new connection. Oh my gosh, it could lead me to a speaking engagement. Oh, that would be amazing. Someone might think I'm a weirdo. Well, they might, and maybe I am, but so what? I'm moving on, right?
exactly, exactly. So, Annie, my final question to you is, if happiness were a canvas, what colors or textures or scenes would you paint on it to represent the trust from the truest forms of joy that you've discovered in your life? And how has that picture challenged or changed you as you've grown and experienced all that you have?
So much color. So much color, right? Like I'm right now looking behind you. I wish I could show you the sun is setting. So
Yeah.
I live in Fort Myers Beach, Florida, and I see orange across the whole sky, which orange is the color of happiness. So when you first asked me, I was like, oh, it's orange. And then I was like, oh, there's bright blue in it. There's ocean waves. And then I'm like, oh, there's pink because it's friendly and it's warm and inviting. And then it's like that amber kind of like a fireplace of glow and warmth coming in. And I just think that it's colorful. And more than anything today, I think when you're really depressed, no matter how sunny it is outside, no matter how sunny it is around you,
Yeah.
all you see is gray and dark and damp. And I really don't like to be cold, and I don't like anyone to be cold. I sent my mom some fuzzy socks yesterday because I think cold feet are no fun.
Mm.
I think when you are surrounded by color and warmth, you feel warm and then you can radiate that. So I think it's colorful. I think there's waves. I think there's texture. I think it's just everything. Like I've always loved rainbows and I just love color. And I love when I meet women in particular. I love men too, but when I meet women and they go, okay, fine. I'm going home and I'm going to get rid of some of the black in my closet and I'm going to get color, Annie, and I'm going to send you pictures. I'm like, do it, please do it. So I think a lot of color, a lot of joy in that color. I think happiness comes from being fully alive. And I think the color black is about playing small and not being seen. And I think we all deserve to take up space. And it's
Yeah.
taken me a lot of years to know that. So the more color, the better. I have a lot of dresses with lots of color because I am not a 6 foot tall, super fit model, but sometimes when I look in the mirror, I think I am. And on a good day, I'm 5'2", and maybe I'm more round than straight. But what I will say is that I have learned that I have value and I deserve to be bright and take up space and be fully alive. And nothing brings me more joy than other people saying, you know what? I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not here
Absolutely.
to stand up. I'm here to stand with. So, yeah,
Absolutely. And I just have to add, you're very, very tall in character as well.
thanks. I know when I do videos and then people meet me, they're like, you're kind of short. And I'm like, I am not short. I am fun size. They're like, okay, there you go.
Annie Meehan, thank you so much for joining us on Different Facets of Happiness.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you. I hope that Annie's story has lit a spark within you, just as it has for me. Annie's journey reminds us that no matter what obstacle life throws in our way, we each hold the power to create our own path, to rise above, and to make a positive impact. If you're ready to be the exception, remember that it's never too late to start. And thank you, Annie, for sharing your heart, your insights, and your remarkable resilience with us today. And to all of our listeners, thank you for tuning into this episode. Please remember to carry the wisdom of Annie's words with you and ask yourself, what will I do today to create and be closer to my own exceptional life? Until next time, stay inspired, stay committed, and keep reaching for more. I'm Jackie Denise.